Grand Rising family. I was just sitting here and felt this need to unpack what's going on energetically as it started to reveal itself more and more as we're kind of blossoming into the full moon that's coming, and kind of just what I've been encountering as a result of all of the solar activity, and what's kind of ensuing as a result of everything. So this passageway has been beyond intense for many of us. And what we are seeing that was shown to me is the term coming through was a solar lunar bridge. Okay. What does this entail? Well, with the heightened activity of the sun, as we're seeing this higher light coming in, showering us, right, in this really beautiful cosmic glow, awakening the divine sun within us, we are noticing a deepening with the lunar energies that are really coming forward. And there's so much more going on in the placements, but I want to talk about what's been really prevalent for me, okay, as a result of all of this solar activity. It's interesting witnessing the contrast, right? So we had these days where, the KP index was really high. There was a lot of geomagnetic activity, a lot of solar storms. And it's been said that we're going to have a big solar wind come through tomorrow on April 25th. So we're kind of all prepping for that. Yesterday was up to KP5, even though I didn't really feel it. But, with this cosmic shower of the sun coming through, we're finding this deepening of the lunar activity, the lunar energies. So I find that what's happening is the higher light is coming in, and it's going really deep into everything that has been mechanized regarding fear in our own lives, right? So the biggest thing has been that when it comes up, all right, what story am I telling myself? How am I associating to this, right? So how this wants to come forward and through is it's a part of a revelation, right, of the discovery of who we are. But right now it's like the process of alchemy going through our pickling is the word that's been coming through. And if anyone knows about, so I want to talk a little bit about pickles, because this was coming through earlier too, as I was just kind of sitting here meditating on this, is my dad has always been into pickles, right? Always been into pickles. And he used to always say to me, Corey, once you dip a cucumber in brine, there's no going back, right? So the cucumber and the brine is mixed, and we're going through the process of alchemy right now, the transformation, the chrysalis, right? And I know it's going to be different for everyone, but it feels like that the higher crystalline light and the diamond codes coming from the sun, the photonic light, the gamma light, all the different rays that have been coming through have really pushed us into our crystalline chamber as a process of the transformation. But the lunar activity is really exposing more of our shadowy essence and more of where we're holding on to fear, trauma, and also distortions such as narcissism, such as control, such as manipulation. This is really an opportunity to dive deep into our Plutonian aspects and to witness that, right? So at one level, it's being able to face, right? To face our unconsciousness in the eye, to face those aspects of us, and to either make peace with it or to not let it have a stranglehold on us, right? It's us being able to come forward and being able to see it and love it and honor it and recognize that that beast might exist within us at some level or some degree, in all levels and all degrees. We want to go there. But what we can do by witnessing that is recognizing it's a part of us. We extrapolate the information or the code from what it's trying to show as a representation, and then we send it to its higher light column or to its higher light truth, right? So it really is about ascending the lower consciousness, the lower matter, the lower density that reveals itself to us, through us, from the solar activity, right? So here we go. Lower density matter. Lower aspects, lower self, right? Not from a spot of separation, but it's just, we're speaking density and frequency here, right? So then we see the patterns, right? And what do we do to the pattern, right? Choice point, review, right? What do we do with the pattern now that we see it? Can we go deeper into that aspect of us? Why it's occurring? Where did it come in? How is the behavior been established in my own life, and how can I now let it go and send it to source consciousness, right? How can I ascend it? So then the aspect of this that I've been doing is when it comes forward and through, I witness it from within, I listen to what's going on, and then I call in source and I just bathe it in that light. This is where the sun is really working with us too, okay? Is that the exposure of the lower density matter within us and without, right? But we're going to speak within here because it is an inward journey. When the density matter comes up, okay, it might reveal itself to us through dreamscape and we clear a lot of it. But then it's like when the sun comes out, we have this moment of opportunity to go out and to bask in the diamond sun and the rays of that divine perfection, as it's all divine perfection, correct? But we bask in the rays of that golden sun, right? And we allow it to just really overtake and to ascend those parts of us that need that clearing, right? It truly has been a grand revealing in this bridge work of, here we go, higher light coming in, but a deepening of the lunar activity and really going into that stuff. So while we could try to, polarize it and say lunar feminine, lunar masculine, it's this distortion, it's that, at the end of the day, it's just the witnessing within us of, it's the revelation of something that which no longer serves, and then what are we going to choose to do with it as we let it go, right? That's the choice point of freedom. So a lot of the frequencies through this passageway have been invoking freedom in our own lives. And then how do we dispel the lack of freedom or the resistance from within our own field? Okay. So then it's choice point in the narrative. How are we going to shift the storyline out, right? Perspective-based approach in what we're witnessing or viewing. I've also seen, too, the arrival of holodecks. Okay, so the arrival of holodecks and also the arrival of old coding in the reality. And when I speak of old coding, I'll go a little bit into my story of what this represents for me. In my own life, I coded in certain experiences and certain symbols in my own reality to show me when there was control frequencies at play, when I was working in a holodeck, when I was encountering a fear-based trauma response, so on and so forth. Okay, so the freedom codes are a full removal of fixed states of consciousness, all or nothing propositions. I actually wrote an article on the freedom codes this time last year because I went through a very similar passageway through April last year in Sedona, Arizona. And I'm moving through a very similar passageway this time. It's like that golden spiral, the golden ratio of just the witnessing again from a higher light narrative what's occurring. So it's a complete dismantling of our fixed states of consciousness in accordance to coding or responses to energetics in our environment. Okay, so how does this show up for you? Is it that you feel an energy and you automatically jump into a narrative that something's happening to you, right? I see this with a lot of people. A lot of people are beginning to recognize that everything is their own conscious creation and not everything is, X, Y, or Z, attacking them or whatever we want to state, right? So even for me, it's been revealing that there's codes showing up in my reality, in my external reality. And the choice point is, do I want to keep rolling in that narrative of the fixed states of consciousness of the representation of that code or symbol, okay? Code or symbol, or do I want to choose to shift the perspective, right? This is diamond light consciousness. We take the fractal, we just move it over a hair or a fraction, we shift to a new fractal, we see a new belief, a new perspective, and that opens up our multidimensional approach to how we are witnessing that which we review in our own reality, right? So that's the freedom. Some of the freedom is requiring conscious action and conscious movement, while others is just a shift in focus and a shift in perspective, right? So when we are seeing these things, right, and I've been seeing it more occurring right when the sun's about to go down and the moon is starting to come up, and we really have to thank the Scorpio full moon coming up right now, and I know moon, I believe, is in Virgo right now, but I tend to sense the full moon quite a little bit before it actually arrives for us, because the energetics do start propelling in that direction as we're opening up that lunar cycle within us. So a part of this then is that in the daytime we might be in one certain energetics, and then we'll find that there will be a transit that occurs or there will be a frequency that hits, and you can notice that the reality completely shifts on a dime, right? it really is up to us on how we navigate that little shift, right? So we'll have a frequency hit and you can literally feel the light go off, or you shift in another direction and the reality shifts and changes. It might even be a trigger point in your reality. This is one thing I've been encountering a lot, has been trigger points from other individuals, projections, things of that nature. Right then is the opportunity. What do I do with this experience? Do I resist it or do I allow it? So really, I've been having a lot of resistance to what's been going on, and as a result have been trying to do what I can to stay busy. Okay. And I noticed that for me is a trauma pattern of resisting, bypassing that which is being shown to me from within and without, right? So the energetics right now are really going to provide you a choice point, right? Do I bypass this and keep moving in another direction and neglect it? Or do I choose to witness it and sit with it and breathe with it and be with it, and then and call in that higher light, either from within or without, however you choose to do it, into that part of us and make peace with it, right? So it really has been an interesting navigation point, and it's not as fluid right now because this passageway is bringing a lot up for all of us, a lot up for all of us to review. And so really, it truly is right now about just being really kind and gentle with ourselves and really navigating the waters of self-love. Okay. Self-love is not fixed either, right? So there's not one formula for self-love. It's one of those that evolves and changes, and it really is based upon what aspects we're working through, what we're currently going through. Does our body need, is the focus on the physical body? Is the focus on the emotions? Is the focus on the heart space, right? What is it? In the unified aspect, right, we're working with all of those, but we also know that when we're dealing with heavy separation energies that come through, like, so this energy is really blowing through all of our separation. One of our focuses might be in on one plate or in one avenue, and we kind of have to shift and navigate that. So for me, it's been the waters of my emotions, right? It's been really going into, all right, how can I love these emotions that are coming forward? How can I shift the thought form, right? How can I shift the mental narrative that's occurring within me? How can I detach from the mind loops? It really is, for me, has been interesting balancing into the heart space and the heart-mind coherence through this. And we can even think of this as like, the solar lunar bridge is the same as heart-mind coherence and the heart-mind bridge, right? It's essentially however we choose to speak on the representation in our own reality and how we choose to view it, it's separation. And we're bridging that gap and bringing it within together and bowing to it in the face of unification from within, right? So whether it be a traumatic experience, whether it be a discordant relationship, family line programming, ancestral trauma, whatever it is, it really is about bringing it back into peace and balance from within us. And so this is a balance point period. So how do we stabilize in the integration of a balance point period? Doing what we can to maintain balance, right? So what does balance look like to you? Right? Do you need to get out a little bit more? Do you need to play a little bit more? Do you need to reflect a little bit more? Do you need to slow down? These energies really are about a pendulum swing. Wherever we've been going in one direction, a part of the transition and bringing things into balance is swinging into the other direction, right? If we've been living too much in the optimistic light, okay, can we go into those parts of us that are a little bit more unconscious and shadowy that are showing themselves to us? Can we honor that, see it and love it and let it pass really quickly? I find that when, because I have a very higher light narrative, right? I very much so, when I'm coming forward speaking and sharing my soul and my wisdom with the world, it's very much so in the higher light. But the representation of, when I say lunar, right, the lunar isn't always unconscious or dark, but it really is looking at what many would call the shadow. And so for me, that's more of an alone time thing where, so when the shadow represents itself to me, and I see it from within, okay, a lot of my new age programming that I still have, and I'm going to call myself on it, and I see this for a lot of people, is we jump right into the like, oh, everything's blissful and magical. Well, no, actually everything's perfect. And as a part of that divine perfection is sitting with it. And as soon as we sit with it, we notice that the resistance falls away very quickly. And we notice that there's a transition point into this harmony, right? The harmony with our own thorns. It's the harmony with our prison. And as a result, okay, our own internal prison, whatever that is, Loving it and honoring it and seeing it is actually witnessing the unlocking of that door. That's the key code of the arrival. Just putting the key in, we open it up, and the door swings open, and there we are. It's the pendulum swing, right? It's the grand opening, the grand revealing that we weren't trapped. It was our own fixed states of consciousness and our own illusion that kept us in those places, spaces, and times. Okay. And so for me, it's really been, can I sit with that energy and be with it and love it and unlock the doors, right? Can I untangle from my own thorns? Can I remove my own shackles by being with them, right? And so it really is about stepping through the illusion. And while one of it might be an action sequence for one, for me, stepping through the illusion is being with the illusion and knowing it's an illusion and seeing it as an illusion and allowing it to shift as it comes forward, right? So the holodecks have been really prevalent here as well. Okay, so what's a holodeck? Holodeck is a holographic reality that is a passageway for us to move through to navigate our mastery at a greater level. That's the way I see it and witness it. A holodeck is literally a safe place to navigate the waters of your trauma, your belief systems, whatever it might be, to reframe your focus or to sharpen your tools of mastery. It's a process of alchemy. I witnessed myself walking through a holodeck the other day. So what did I do? I said, oh, this is a holodeck. Okay. I'm walking through a holographic reality to gain mastery here. It's a lesson, right? So what do I do with it? I choose to consciously see, what is this showing me? What do I need to stay out of? What is mine? How do I navigate the waters of my life in more peace, more purity, and in more prosperity? And how can I now clear that holodeck? Well, I worked with my universe on that. Let's clear the holodeck. And the holodeck cleared. And granted, it's still showing up a little bit because it's a choice point, right? Are you going to give in to the rabbit hole of the mind, which for some people is extremely important, right? And I'm going to honor your process if you've got to go rabbit hole. Now, for me, I have a really wonderful friend that says every time you go down a rabbit hole, you come up covered in rabbit shit, right? So then we have to clear out the rabbit poop. And so while one level reveals a level of truth for us, we also can make conscious choice whether or not we need to go down into that. And that's just, everyone's journey is different, whether you want to go down that or not. But I'm seeing a lot of choice points. Are you going to let the mind govern the reality, or are you going to go back into the heart space, right? Are you going to jump into this thing and pick it apart and dissect it to keep the ego mind alive and active? Or are you going to jump into the heart space and the purity of the feeling state and allow that to just be what it is without having to dissect it, right? So a lot of us that see in symbols and codes, and a lot of us that dive into those places of picking things apart in our reality, which is an old aspect of me, it's, can we let go of that and allow it to be what it is without having to unveil the truth behind it, right? It's been as simple as even finding a screw on the ground. Literally, it's been as simple as, here's a screw on the ground, and go, what does this mean? What does this represent? It's all the mind stuff, right? So there's the choice point. Am I going to go into the mind stuff, or am I going to go into that place of fear feeling, and am I going to keep following that feeling, right? Because the thing is that some of the feeling states are pretty uncomfortable right now. And if we have resistance to the state of feeling and not being with the feeling, we're going to find more ways to escape it, right? So it really is creation point awareness. What am I calling forward? What am I focusing on? What am I speaking into existence, right? What stories am I telling myself? It's really being aware of our vernacular, all right? And how it creates an energetic response in our reality, and why we keep calling forward those stories or those lessons or whatever as a result of what we speak and what we do, what we breathe, what we eat, all of that. It really is conscious awareness, right? And being able to reframe that. How can I purify the body better? How can I take care of the body better? You know, what does self-love look like in that department? How can I change a few little things every single day to create that space for that new organic reality that's trying to show up for myself, right? And that's another big part, right? New realities are coming in, right? These shifts and these changes cause a effect on us to arrive into a new reality, free of what dimensional bandwidth or what harmonic frequency or anything like that. It's just a new reality. So as a result of when a new reality is showing up, what do we really need to do? Tune in. Tune into your higher self. What is your higher self, soul, heart telling you to do? You know, a lot of allowing a new reality to show up is there's not much to do but just be, right? It's like It's really slowing down and removing those points of distraction in our own reality, so we can be and allow that to catch up with us, right? Step out of the doing, step into the being, and allow that to be received, right? So if I'm constantly putting energy out and I'm distracting my focus, I'm actually blocking this thing from arriving. And so it's a kind of a shutdown period. Turn everything off, go within, be, meditate, breathe, listen. And it's going to allow this thing to catch up with us, right? It's the magnetism of attracting that reality, or what we need resource-wise to walk forward on our pathway. So I can definitely tell for me, because Scorpio full moons for me, and I don't really dive into a lot of zodiac stuff on my channel, and I'm not very well versed in it. But I do know for me, the times of any scorpionic energy is a very big deepening, and a big revelation, because this energy really wants us to go into those places within us and to be with it, right? And so look at your trauma response, right? Because I do talk a lot about trauma. When you are starting to see things within your own self or showing up in your reality, how do you respond to it? Do you start going into the escapist routine, or the running away, or the bypassing, or, we can even go into the spiritual bypassing, where we just completely neglect it and just focus on the higher light, right? Which there's a time and a place for that. There always is. Okay, there always is. But there's also a time I see, depending upon the energetics and what's going on personally for me, when I need to turn into those places and I need to show them that unconditional love, because that's going to assist in ascending it, right? So these aspects of us, whether we want to see it as soul aspects, unconscious programming, fears, doubt, trauma, worry, concern, and all the addiction programming associated with fear in our reality, okay? Old safety mechanisms, I find that sometimes we just need to turn directly into it and go, I see you, all right? I see you, but we're going to have to break up now, right? So I've been talking to my fear a lot like a relationship, because there's been a lot of relationship stuff coming up to the surface. So I choose to go, I see you, fear-based programming, but it just isn't working out anymore. I'm going into different places, right? I'm seeing new vistas and new sights, and you just don't fit into my new story, and I'm sorry, but I have to let you go, right? And talking to that, right? Because we have a relationship to our narrative. We have a relationship to our story. We call that attachment. That's why the story keeps arriving, right? We have a fixed state to a storyline and to a natural response. And so we build a relationship to that response, because it creates a safety mechanism within us that keeps us small, okay? So if we're calling forward expansion, and we're calling forward new for ourselves, we're calling forward showing up in our light and people seeing and witnessing our light. As a result, all those old safety mechanisms have to fall. So the self-talk with the safety mechanisms, right? Because we don't need safety in the higher light trajectories. That's a 3D based program, because we needed it then. So part of the review is seeing it and having to have a conscious breakup with our safety mechanisms, having to have a conscious breakup with our old realities. Can we bury those old aspects of ourselves? Can we bury those old storylines, right? Can we cut through to the next higher vibrational realm, the next narrative, whatever it might be for us, the next pathway, reality stream, by letting go of the luggage which no longer serves, right? This is a part of transition point into a new pathway, into a new vibrational bandwidth, new reality stream, new dimension, whatever we want to call it, right? It's just new. So it really is up to us to discard the luggage, and how we do that is going to be entirely up to us. Is it that we do a formal ritual? Do we write it down and burn it, right? Do we write it down and bury it? Or do we just have a conscious conversation with ourselves? So for me, working with the energies of fire really do help, right? Whatever that means for you. Light a candle and just sit there and just review. Sometimes I have to write it out. Sometimes I just sit there and I listen and I talk to it, right? I give it the opportunity to be seen and witnessed, but I also don't let it have a hold on me with anymore. And granted, it took about 3 days of bypassing this stuff for someone to say, time to sit with it, last night, and to honor the death of that part of me, right? And to recognize that there's an alchemical transformation that's occurring on, a pickling, right, that's happening. Butterfly getting its wings, coal turning into diamond, however we want to choose to see it. We're going through this process right now. And as soon as we honor that alchemy is occurring, the deepening of these layers that we walk into and walk through creates another pendulum swing into a higher light narrative for ourselves. So if you feel like things have been really deep and really like, oh my gosh, for a little while, just remember the universe is about balance and there is a pendulum swing in the other direction. Don't allow the momentum of this energy to tell you that you are looping back into an old cycle. Okay? The biggest thing has been witnessing when we're going to loop in that fear response that we're going into an old cycle. No, everything's new. We're just peeling back some layers. We're just peeling back some layers. We're just dissolving. Everything's okay. I'm safe. I'm supported. I'm loved. I'm abundant. Whatever it might be. The self-talk narrative. All right? Self-talk. Be kind and gentle with yourself through this process. It truly is a really big revelation, and the amount of clearing and integration that's occurring right now, for me, is astounding. I normally don't go through this much. And so I always know, okay, this is the pullback, right? There's a pullback, just like if we look at the archer, the bow. There's a pullback, and then the release is when we propel forward into an acceleration point or into a new phase of our journey. So if you're feeling the pullback, just know the release is coming. But the release isn't going to be confined to a certain date or a certain time. We know we're in this passageway until about the 29th. And we're going to be feeling the full moon energies for about 72 hours post full moon. Okay. So as we see, this gateway is going to be going through the 29th. And then we've got a lot of other interesting transits coming up. We've got Mercury retrograde coming up. We've got a whole lunar eclipse. Or is it lunar or solar eclipse? Well, let's just say we're going into another eclipse cycle too. Okay. Because I'm not sure, I haven't watched it. So as a result, these energies, if we can sit and recognize that there's a huge transformation occurring for us individually and collectively, and we honor that, the easier it is to get through these navigation points. So while we have these passageways that are like everything's beauty, bliss, and magic, which it might be for some people. If it is, please keep following that. But for some of us, it's really going deep, or it's bliss and magic, and then once again the frequency hits. There's a shift, and then it's time to go down and to go deep again. So it really is about, for you, honoring the way that you are navigating your own journey. These energies are reality shaking. It will stir the pot, right? And so if you have to stay out of the collective, stay out of the collective. If you need to just be with yourself, be with yourself. If you have to go out into nature, go into nature. It really is about honoring your path and what you need, right, for this. So yeah, a lot going on, and a lot more to be discovered. So with that, just keep honoring you, keep loving, keep honoring the peace within you, making peace with those aspects. Keep mending your own wounds, keep filling up with the light. There's been another heavy focus on Chiron too in my own reality. And so it really is about using my own magic. And the alchemy of the wisdom that I've learned over my own life, and applying that into my own life to begin to reveal the power that I have within, with self-love, with self-healing, self-correction, whatever we want to call it, right? It really is about going to your tool bag. What do you have within you? And how can you utilize that? And if you need some more tools, right, reach out to people. Reach out to people. That's why we have tribe. That's why we have unification. That's why we have our soul people. Whatever it might be that you need, right? Reach out to those people if you need them. But for me, I found that a part of this energy in the storyline of Chiron is, how can I go into my bag of magic and utilize it for myself and give myself that healing and that revelation, and to find that nugget of gold, that morsel of truth that exists within me that's going to unlock a new gift or a new ability. Right? Or a new timeline, a new pathway, a new level, whatever we want to call it. So with that focus point, right, just keep filling up, keep loving, keep at the peace within you and peace within all of your relations. If you see the trigger and you feel it within your body, stretch it out, move it out, let it go, and let's move on. Really, it is about flowing and stepping as much into our feeling state and being state. Just being with the body, be with the emotion body, be with the mental body. What am I feeling right now? Give yourself the okay to feel it, let it out, let it shift, and we'll walk forward. This level of work now is, we don't have to dig. We don't have to keep digging up that hole. We can just see it. And as soon as we see it and we breathe with it, in through the heart space, it shifts really quickly. And I've noticed that. I had there was someone, I believe it was Shanae from Freedom Network Live, talks a lot about the sixth breath, six breaths in through the heart, 6 breaths out when you're feeling something coming forward. And I find that to be the easiest thing towards shifting out density, towards honoring programming as it's coming to the surface. It really is about just being very gentle with the breath, very simple as it's coming up. See it, love it, make peace with it, let it go, right? Bring it to the higher light, ascend it. So I love you guys. Much love and respect to everyone out there. I appreciate all of you and your journey. Keep sharing your love, keep sharing your light, stay in your purity, stay in your bliss, stay in your magic. And with that, I will see you in another moment of the now. Namaste.